So welcome to the paint along. This is less than an hour of chilled, relaxing, very easy watercolour. You can do it if you haven't done anything before. We're just going to talk about some tips and tricks. You only need a few colours, blue, a yellow and a Payne's grey and something like a burnt sienna, which is a brownie colour, but I will leave the colours in the link on my school community. So if you pop in the link in the comments, in the description, there's a link to my free school community where I post other stuff. We have a chat, you can share your work, but it's free to join. Come and join us. You can get the line drawing from there, and as I say, the reference and the colours that I'm going to be using. So this is my line drawing, and I'm going to transfer this onto my paper using blue chalk. You can trace it as usual, but I find it's very quick to do it with chalk. I am using Langton watercolour paper by Daily Rowney. I have a putty rubber, my blue chalk, a thin liner brush, another thin-ish brush, and I have a couple of bigger watercolour brushes. This does actually go to a very fine tip, and with watercolour you need brushes that have a fat belly and a fine tip so that they hold lots of water. I have this little one as well, and I've got a couple of waterproof fine liners because I might put ink on afterwards. I have a pencil, I have a little spray bottle which you may or may not need, so I wouldn't worry if you haven't got it. It's only if your paper starts to dry out really quickly. I've taped my paper to my board. This is a Hanimal art tape, so I find it doesn't tear the paper. And I have some paper to test out my colours on. So where should we start? Now, using the line drawing and chalk, what you can do, this is such a simple way to do it, is you literally put the chalk all over the background. Now you can draw this freehand, it's a very simple image, but I find it fits. I do it on A4, I printed it off on A4, it just makes it simple, and I'm all for simplicity. And if you haven't joined me before, I'm Julie Ford, I'm a self-taught artist, and I just enjoy sharing stuff with people. And also doing this once a week does kind of make me do a bit of art. So then you just go over the lines with a pen or a pencil, and it will transfer onto your paper. I can then darken the lines up afterwards if I need to. I'm not going to worry about it being too accurate. Sometimes it's nice to have it a bit wonky, it makes it a bit whimsical. I have other videos on my channel. Some of them are about how to mix different colours, how to mix greens, how to mix greys. So feel free to go and take a look. And if you do enjoy the video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe and share. Comments will be very much appreciated. I haven't been doing YouTube for very long, so it all helps. And if you have any requests for particular types of images to do, give me a shout. There we are. Now, it's probably really hard for you to see, but I'm just going to go in with my pencil and darken these lines up a little bit. If it's going to be an area that's very light, then you want to make sure your pencil's very light, or if you do this, you want to just rub most of it out afterwards. Be very, very gentle, because it will show through your watercolour, it will. But as I say, I think I'm going to ink over this anyway. We are whimsical wobbly lines. We've got a really nice sky in this picture, so we want to try and get, I'm not going to follow this slavishly, and if you want to do different colours, feel free. But what I do want to try and get is the drama of the sky. And when you come to mixing colours for skies and painting skies, you have to be careful that you don't take yellow into blue and make green. So there's a method you can use called couching for that. Right, so this chalk will actually rub off pretty much, but if you rub off most of it, then it won't colour any of your watercolour. So my colours I'm using, and I'm just going to activate them up a little bit. I'm going to use a cobalt for my sky. Let's turn this around, I'm not sure if you can see it. So this is a, actually no, sorry, I'm going to use ultramarine. Just make sure this is clean. There we are. And I've got some Payne's grey, and then I have a transparent orange, and I will also be using a little bit of cerulean, which is over here. My Payne's grey is here, and my transparent orange is over there. So let's see what we can do with this. So I'm going to wet my sky. I need to use clean water, so you should have 2 pots of water, one for washing your brush and one for dipping in before you go into another colour. Right, so I've just started that with water. I'm not going all the way down. Now you want a lot of pigment because it dries so much lighter. And it's okay if it runs. You need to work quickly, particularly if you're in a warm climate, because, well, what's that on there? I don't know. Now I'm doing the bottom. It will dry very quickly if you're in a warm climate, and that's what I was going to say. Now I've got some of this beautiful Payne's grey, which I'm just going to drop some in down here. And up here. You've got to keep working. You've really got to work fast while it's still wet, and if it starts to dry, you kind of have to stop. And just let the water do its own thing. Let the water take it. Now here, I want a clean brush. Take this water down. And I'm going to put in a little bit of this orange in the middle. And in there, there's a little bit of this cerulean. And I'm just going to leave that. She says, I've got too much water on it, I can see that, so I need to pick up that water. Dry brush, pick up any excess water so it doesn't run back. And there's a little bit of that over here. And a little bit of the orange, but it might go green over here. That's fine. Well, that's all right. That's all right, don't worry. Now I've got my water in the background and I have changed my sand for some sand dunes, but I'm going to have sand down here. So I'm going to start down there because I want to leave this to dry. So I'm going back to my orange, but I am going to add in a little bit of this Payne's grey. So it kind of doubles it down a bit. I'm going to drop in a few little bits of colour. It's going to come down into grass. Yeah, so that Payne's grey just deadens it out a bit, and down here is going to be grass. You want to work quickly, don't overthink it. So when we overthink it, it gets difficult. Right, so our ultramarine. Now let me see what this orange does with it. It makes a kind of dirty grey colour, but it's quite a good colour for under here. And I'm going to go over it with green. Now, we haven't included a yellow, so I'm going to now include a yellow with my ultramarine to give me some green. So I'm kind of allowing it, I'm not mixing it all up, I'm kind of allowing it to do some of it on the paper. And there'll be some little patches on my sand dunes. So you can see how much this has dried, really, really dried. Now I want some of this lovely orange on my cabin because that's got beautiful reflection of the light. So I say it doesn't all have to be the same colour. And I'll put a little bit more orange in here. If it's dried, you can go in. If it's dried, you're all right. Now, my cabin, I want a nice turquoise. I've got a really nice turquoise. If you haven't got a turquoise, you can make one with, you want a cool blue. It's like a phthalo type blue. This might run. Yeah, you want a phthalo type blue or a Prussian, cerulean with a little bit of yellow to make a turquoise. And the thing is with watercolour, to make it look nice like watercolour, you have to work quickly because you don't want it to dry out. But you have to be conscious that equally you don't want it to run into the other colours. Which I might not be able to avoid completely if I'm demonstrating here, but I've no idea if this is going to work, but we're trying it. I'm just glazing this turquoise over the orange. Okay, I think we kind of got away with that. Now we have this lovely purpley blue, but first of all I'm going to go and do my roof, which is going to be a bit of Payne's grey. We want it really dark, so almost no water on your brush. Now don't forget, you can always glaze over, you can layer with watercolour. If it's not rich enough, if it's not dark enough, you can go back in and put another coat on. So also here we have this shadow. Got a little wedge along the bottom. Okay. I'm going to soften this side. Just let it run a little bit into the turquoise. A little bit in shadow here. Going to darken up this turquoise. Right. Let us wait and see what happens now. I'm going to go back to my sea now, because that to me looks ready, and I'm going to use ultramarine, but I'm going to add in a little bit of the sort of the grey that I mixed with the Payne's grey and the orange, and I want to try and make as straight a line as possible across here. Now your water should be dry, your sky should be dry, so it shouldn't run. Mine has a little bit. As it comes forward, I'm going to put a little bit of that turquoise in it at the front. Just let it run into each other. It has run a little bit over here. And also, you might notice it's not straight, so don't be too scared to use something to give yourself a straight horizon, which has not worked at all. Because my paint's run. Right, gonna leave that to dry. Leave that to dry, and then I'm gonna paint over that. Oh, what a mess. What a mess. See, one of the easiest pictures, and I've messed it up. Never mind. Right, so my door is going to be ultramarine. Hopefully my turquoise has dried. I don't necessarily want it to be completely flat. If I did, I'd probably paint it in gouache. So I can drop a bit more colour or a bit less colour in as we go. if you have a hairdryer to hand, it's really handy for drying out the bits before you try and paint in again, because it is the worst thing if you start painting and it all runs, which is exactly what I did. Okay, I've got some stormy clouds, unintentional really, because it's where my water ran back into my clouds, but this is the whole point of doing these, is to practice, isn't it? So I want to make my grasses more darker, so I'm going back into my lemon yellow and some of my ultramarines. I want quite a lot of colour in here. And you just want some marks that don't look kind of too contrived, really. Add a little bit of turquoise into that to give a slightly different green. There we are. Some little bit of burnt sienna, which we've not actually used yet. I'm going to use my brush on its side to try and create some different grass marks. That's it. Mix something's a bit darker again. A little bit of burnt sienna in there. You can see how it darkens up that green. Some of it runs, some of it's dry. Just gives you a little bit more variation kind of thing. Okay. That needs to be quite a bit darker under my building. So we could use that Payne's grey. So that will kind of blend in a bit with Payne's grey again for my latches if this is dry. Leave little bits of white. I'm going to go in with a bit more turquoise, another glaze kind of thing. You can see the orange kind of shows through. Right, now. More ultramarine on my so it's got a little bit of Payne's grey in it, that ultramarine. So it's giving it a nice, dark effect. So it's a bit of a more natural blue, my ultramarine now, because I've got a little bit of the Payne's grey in it. And I think that's probably a bit better. There we are. Paint round my grasses. Negative painting in there. That's it, stop. So she doesn't. Right, so I think I'm going to have to take my C quite a bit out, and I'm going to have to do it like this. That's it. And that is going to have to go all the way over here too. Down to my, there we are. It's not very good, is it? But oh dear. Right, I'm going to get a little bit of my raw sienna and just dry brush over my sand dunes, just to give it a little bit more texture. Still doesn't look like it's properly settled down, does it? So we're going to go with some of my Payne's grey, but I'm putting in a bit of raw sienna to warm it up, so it kind of links with the sand. My dog's just appeared. He's going to want to go indoors in a minute, so you'll hear tapping or harumphing. Okay, and then down here, got some darker marks. Okay. Right, so I still want a bit more colour on my, oh, this is still wet. I shouldn't really have gone over it while it's still wet. We'll have a nice textured hut. we're doing. Okay, so that's run, but I'm very fine with that. I am going to wait for it to dry now, and then I'm going to ink some of it. So if I've got any bits that are dry, which I have, particularly down here. This isn't dry, but I just want to give you an idea. I really like the look of ink on watercolour. I don't always do it, but for some things, particularly something nice and simple like this, I think it's quite good fun. You probably will have to wait for yours to dry a bit more than I did. Not doing all of them. Just to give a little bit more definition. I'm not even worrying about whether they're all the same length, to be honest, or width. Right. Okay, and then this down here. I'm going to leave the sea. What else? That's got a darker edge to it. That's very dark. Got quite a bit of shadow under there. Oh, the door, look, the door's got panels. And because my paper's warped, it's hard to get their straight lines, but it's whimsical, don't forget. Whimsical. Darken some of this up underneath if I can. I think it might still be too wet. Yeah, probably. Anyway, I'm going to leave that like that. I could continue by putting on some darker. Oh, look, she has forgotten. make sure they all run the right way for the perspective. There we are, that'll do. So do share what you've done. It was a quick, fun, let's not be too precious painting. And I need that to look like it sort of sat down in the ground. There we are, that's a bit better. So thank you so much for joining me. And if you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up, follow me again. Thanks for joining. Bye.